He's gotta get the orders.
Do you want one?
Public right of way. Now I am ordered by the ZBA that I must restore the area to its original state, which will cost me probably a couple thousand more dollars. So I spent $3,500 on getting this fixed, putting in the gravel, repairing the area, making it better. And now, if I do what the ZBA wants me to do, it's probably another $2,500 to scrape all that back out and put down topsoil, whatever, and plant grass. And if I do that, then the area will be, again, now, I was told to put gravel in there because of drainage. The area will have the same drainage problems that we've always had. The slope of the King Street's right into my property right there. So I have to do this. So I've been talking back and forth with my contractor, and he's been making the comments is, if you look up the street, 50 yards up the street, where the town of Sterling, a couple years ago, did pretty much exactly the same thing, took out topsoil, put in gravel, 2 years later, grass is growing in it. So what I'm gonna ask for is, why don't we just let it be? Or do you think grass is gonna grow back in there? Or maybe we'll put some grass seed in there, it'll be a more sound foundation for grass. If people park in there, it would be a better area for them to park in, not get stuck. So that's basically what I wanted to come and say tonight. And I wanted to, I don't know that an amendment is the right way. Is there a variance that the town can do? I'm not sure what the recourse is at this point. So that's what I'm coming to you and saying, this is my story, this is what's happened, what is the recourse? Okay?
I'm sorry, what? I didn't hear what you.
Any questions?
Well, I guess a comment, is this gonna be discussed at some point?
It's on the agenda for executive session.
Okay.
Hey, anybody else like privilege of the floor? Okay, can I get a motion to enter into executive session to discuss collective bargaining and pending litigation, Turtle Cove?
Karen? Lee?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Joan? Yes, Scott?
Yes. You can't go into executive session on this one. Sorry, bud.
They might have muted it at the. Let's click out of this though. Somebody else that's logged in. They're just right here. If you look, I have a new video.
So they're just observing?
Yes,
Yeah, like,
we have Mike, but Lisa's got their mic shut off.
I really didn't like my deer heads. Maybe you found about.
Huh? Oh my God,
I don't know.
it is that. Just sit down at the bottom left. It should show it all. Or in quarter? You unmute from there or down below?
Excuse me.
Yes.
Help me out here.
It's a click of a button.
There's lots of clicks of the button here. Every time I go to click on it.
You're fine. They've got to unmute that. You can.
Oh. Lisa, can you hear me?
There. See, it's going back.
All right, we'll get a motion to exit executive session.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Charlie's back with us.
Yep.
Karen?
Yes.
Lee? Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Joe? Yes. I expected you over there. Scott?
Yes.
Let's do it now, so we don't forget. Brian.
Okay, so Brian, we did discuss, your request for land use regulations change. We did speak with our attorney. We don't think that's the proper channel to take. Because it leads into precedents and everything. We are waiting to hear some more ideas or possible solutions from the attorney to try to get this worked out, resolved, and move forward and get it taken care of. But the land use regulations change would just be kind of after the fact, and usually like to see more precedents other than just one case where we would change the zoning. So, okay?
Okay,
Thank you. All right, department reports, the highway department, everything's got. Anything? Okay. Historian?
Yes. I gathered information on John Charles Brown and Halsey Brown for land and divorce. For Tom Johnson, information on the Cooper, Beatty, McKnight, Miller, McFadden, and Heckman families. And for Terry Ann Brayley, information on McQueen, Young, and Devine families.
Justice. Assessment. Planning board,
We'll have a public hearing at our next meeting for distributed sun. They're downsizing their project.
downsizing the project. ZBA,
Yep, we have a hearing set for December 15th for a front setback on Pardon Road.
Historical Society,
Yes. Do we have anything?
Calendar.
We have the I have the calendars tonight and the ornaments, if anybody's interested, calendar's $7 this year. Ornaments are 15. And we attended an H3C meeting a week or so ago. And we're close for the winter. And if they need calendars or ornaments, they can come to the town hall, the front porch, the Savannah Bank. And if you want just calendars, you can go to the village hall.
okay.
Thank you, Sally.
We don't have any sort of hat pin or any type of pin, Mr. Sterling.
No,
I had a gentleman sent me an email that collects them and was asking. I didn't think we had anything. like
No.
that.
No, we
No.
used to have,
Keychains? Okay.
well,
Yeah, okay. Code enforcement. Committee reports. Fire and ambulance, we got that signed and everything done. Senior citizens,
Yeah, my turn, my
what
turn.
everybody's been waiting for.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, what we done in October, we had our October 6th meeting, Susan Gately was our guest speaker on that meeting. We had the Cuba County Health Department, come in with the flu shots. And October 19th, we took a bus trip to Corning Glass Museum. October 20th, Brenda Wyman from the Cuyahoga County Office for the Aging is our guest speaker. Spoke on scams and insurance is what she ended up talking about. Let's see, then we're also working on a trip for 2023 already. Getting things going there. Of course, we have our bunko every Wednesday. And December 1st will be our Christmas dinner party. It'll be at the Annabelle American Legion. 12 for a happy hour, so it's my hour. Yeah. I've been there a couple times, haven't we? I'll take you home. Okay. All right, good. You better be there.
That's all you do.
And that's about it. Just a little side note of what's going on for the seniors. Tops Market in Hannibal on December 6th is having a senior dinner. They've done this for quite a few years, way back when Fran Morbido from the store. And so now instead of going to the Legion like we used to do, or yeah, it was the Legion of Fairness, one or the other. You just go to the store and they'll have either a ham or turkey dinner all ready for the folks to sit down. And Faye and Jack Beckwood will be playing. So if you do go in, even if you're not a senior, just say hi to Jack and Faye. We'll test you on and so make sure you do that. That's about it. And again, I want to thank the board for all they do for the seniors.
All right,
It's really appreciated.
we thank you for all you do for them.
Yeah, we do. Thank you so much.
Okay, Charlie. Hey, Charlie, have a happy Thanksgiving, okay?
Yeah, you too, buddy. Go Yankees.
Okay, gotta get back to work now, Charlie. Thank you, guys.
Zoning Commission,
What water district?
yep, Water District, nothing much, Ian's working on getting in touch with the funding agency
Yeah.
and quotes from,
Waiting. Aqua?
but he's talking with Aqua, he's talking with Camden, who's gonna get a quote from the Camden group.
Okay, and then reaching out
He's-
to the original places that had given us awards, grant awards.
Yeah, yeah, the funding
And then
agencies.
ask to see if we can.
Yep.
Excuse me, just waiting.
Yep,
Okay.
I'll bring him and see if he's got an update
Okay,
for us. And see
great.
if-
Zoning
Did the zoning
Zoning
commission have
commission, I
anything?
think, Mr. Winkley, Steve Winkley did a good job of saying what we've been working on for months now. And so tonight, the zoning commission, Steve Winkley, will be looking for the town board members to look at the draft wildlife protection overlay district local law that we put forth. And he, Steve made the trip here from Albany to answer any questions that the board members might have.
I would like to personally thank Steve for all his work he's done relentless and passionately to help us get to where we are and beyond. Thank you, Steve.
Balance in the workplace, department oversight.
Financial records, so we've been auditing the financial
They'll be
record.
here for us on Wednesday.
Right, and that should be the last day. I think it'll be like the 5th or 6th appointment I've had reviewing the book, so we're trying to do our due diligence.
So much.
Handbook,
Now that we've got the Teamsters contract, we can kind of figure out a little bit more.
Right, right.
personnel, Charlie and I had met, talked about the Teamsters contract, and then meet here again soon. LWRP,
Just that the consistency staff and legal team staff have all the draft sections and the appendices. And they are reviewing them, but Carrie hasn't received any comments on anything. And she was told to expect comments soon, so she would know more after December 6th. when they have a meeting.
wellhead protection,
Still waiting on the decision of what the board's gonna do with the current well and the water supply for Sterling and Fairhaven. Other than that, we're kind of just at a standstill, waiting on predictions of what's gonna happen next steps. Steve has proposed a great idea, and I am 100% in agreement with whatever Steve decides to do. So far, I'm leaning toward it. The well capacity that's in Fairhaven and feeding Fairhaven is not capable of supplying Sterling with safeable drink water for the future. So whatever Steve comes up with that suggestion, I am in agreement with. And I don't want to speak for the rest of the committee, but I think they are as well.
okay? And I get a motion to accept the minutes from the October 24th, 2022 regular meeting.
Can I ask a question though? I wrote on top. Is the Miller engineer contract signed now and in place? It is, okay. Thank you. So I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to accept the minutes from the November 10th, 2022 special meeting and public hearing.
I'll make that.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion to accept the supervisor's report from October 2022.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye. Correspondence, the New York class, I'd like to invite that lady to maybe next month. Either come or do a Zoom meeting with us, Pat. They kind of talked to her, and there was quite a significant amount of interest we would have had just in 1 month's time. A couple $100 versus a couple $1,000, just in having our money with New York class versus in the Savannah Bank. So,
So you didn't want to do a resolution on that too?
if anybody's got questions or would rather see,
I'd like to have a presentation
Right,
before I
before we
commit to it
make a
myself.
decision.
Right.
What's that? No, it's, yeah. It's all Bitcoin. No. Everybody saw the amendment to the plow contract.
Well, we're gonna be discussing, but the plow contract, I was hoping that the highway superintendent would be here. He signed this, I'm assuming
Yeah,
that this.
he was, my conversation with
Right,
him was, he was
perfect.
happy with it, he signed it,
Okay.
I signed it as well.
Perfect, yeah, I see the signatures, but just wanted to confirm.
We did get Marvel Crockett's road back.
Oh, okay,
It seemed to be in our favor, so,
And Nichols.
the Nichols Road, yeah.
yeah,
Increased our money, of course, we got more mileage, cleared up the West Bay Road. Questions on that? Any other?
So for the bridge, you want funding?
Yep.
Are we going to pursue that or?
That's kind of in the superintendent's wheelhouse.
Okay.
I'm sure he will.
Yeah.
I know he spoke quite a bit with them last year on
I
that.
remember
And
it,
spoke
yeah.
with, Matt Schooley at Barton will do this as well.
Yeah.
So. I'm sure he'll be on top of that.
Okay. I'll let the family-
Hey, old business,
Oh, right, okay,
something else?
yeah. Item 10, okay, so I got a note here. And, well, bear with me. Keep going.
Email regarding the village role.
Yep, Fairhaven Village Resolution regarding the wellhead protection overlay district. I would like the town board to be able to acknowledge that the village did a resolution concerning the wellhead protection overlay district. And I know on the agenda, it didn't get listed, but it was certainly part of the correspondence. So I don't know if we can address that under, I don't know, resolutions, but at some point I would,
Old business.
okay, if you want to do it there, but acknowledge and possibly read aloud the resolution.
I can read it now under correspondence if you want.
Okay. I can read it. It's in my reading. Resolution concerning wellhead protection overlay district, and this was done at the regular meeting of the Village Board of Trustees on November 14, 2022. It's resolution number 2022-4. Whereas the Village of Fairhaven owns a public well field located outside the boundaries of the village and within the town of Sterling. And whereas the village well field is the sole source of public water for residents and businesses within the village. And for the town residents within Water District Number 3 in the town of Sterling. And for the residents in the Ingersoll Drive service area within the town of Wolcott for the Wayne County Water and Sewer Authority. And also for the Fairhaven Beach State Park, and whereas the village has an abiding interest in protecting the public water supply from depletion or contamination. And whereas it is entrusted to the public officials to protect public health and safety by protecting public drinking water. And whereas the New York Rural Water Association, at the request of the village, has provided the town with technical analysis and other assistance in the development of a proposed new law, wellhead protection overlay district, to protect the aquifer that supplies the public wells. And whereas the village was advised by consulting engineer Stearns and Wheeler in 1990 that protective local legislation for the well field is required. And now therefore be it resolved by the Village Board of Trustees that the village calls upon the town of Sterling to promptly enact the proposed wellhead protection overlay district version 10. On a motion by trustees Dunaway and a second by trustee Quinn, the resolution law was approved and in accordance with the following voting 4 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstentions, and 1 absent. Thank you for letting me read that.
Okay, I'm still waiting to get in contact with Keene County Sewer and Water about the storm sewer drain and marking that out. No business. Village is purchasing their own plow trucks. They're waiting for State Road. You're back from Ian on what's happening with Water District 2. Barton came and looked at the light on November 3rd. Repaired some items on the 10th. We have to change the whole light fixture in the meeting room. That we should change them all.
Now, when's that going to happen, Scott? I feel like I'm sitting in the dark.
And we're waiting on Barton to give a.
I'm tempted to get a step ladder and figure out how to do that, or create enough light or bring
I
a
know, I wouldn't
flashlight.
think the way it's wired.
Yeah,
Can't put a bulb in it.
right. So maybe I'll bring a lamp. I can do it. Anyway, it sounds like we're acting on it. So
Yeah.
Charlie, we're trying to get light over here.
That's why you stayed, you got
I
light
know.
at home, Charlie?
Always in the
Let
dark.
Joan come sit on the couch with you and the dog next time. Share your light.
Thanks. Hey, Scott, where are we at on reducing the speed on Old State Road? The only reason I bring that up is we recently had a vehicle flip over again on the northern ditch side of my house. That was, I talked to the guy, he's going too fast. He was hurrying to get his daughter's windshield fixed. He needs a lot more than that fixed now, but he's you can't blame it on the road because I went out and looked at it. The road was clear. He just got over too far and got on the shoulder and lost control. Obviously the cars are going too fast down this road. It's insane. I go to plow my neighbor's driveway and I swear I'm taking my life in my own hands. It's just crazy.
It's.
I understand
We're waiting
it's a mistake
Charlie,
to do that.
I wish I could tell you how long it's gonna take the state, but I've heard things like this could take years.
I bet they come down that hill.
Buddies,
We have a lot of hills in this road and they get building up speed and I'm not the only one concerned. My neighbors are like, holy smoke, unbelievable.
No, we just have to wait for determination from the state.
Okay. Is there anything I or we can do to push that?
Nothing we can do.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of. I also got a call from that lady that sent a request for Willie Road. He was wondering,
Right.
we never acted on anything, but,
All right, appreciate it. Sorry.
Where we have with the land use regulations on 139, that's still kind of waiting.
That went on the back burner, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
And
okay.
once we get this, address the wellhead protection overlay district, then we're going to act on
Yeah.
the zoning commission will make that happen. And then meanwhile, we're still adding items to the list. So, job security for the zoning commission. Mhm.
Water District 3, we're still, that'll be part of our conversation, keep council and water. We'll get these other quotes, King Street, talk about that. I remember we only had one person apply, the other person pulled his letter. Status of the grant for Clovis Winery, I gave you a summary that Nicola had given me this afternoon late. Getting ready to sign it, send it in. One thing to note is it was originally said that more than one business could get in on it. Only one business can get on Store New York grant at a time. Because of the size of the town, because we're only like 33,000 people, we only qualify for one at a time. Once Clovis was finished, then somebody else wanted to do it. They can do it. There are other, I don't know.
Is it like a year?
I think, yeah, the next time it comes up, it's usually yearly the way I understand it. She said there are some other grants and other things. Chris Coloc is willing to pay for her services to go after them too. Yeah, well, because she was worried, what the worry was, yeah, Pat can help us write some of that too, yeah. Getting other applicants, but there's only one at a time on that.
mean, just in grants in
Yeah.
general.
ARPA grant money, we've done nothing with that yet. Still waiting for Doug Streeto to send the contract over for the General Oats plowing and for the purchase of the fuel, New York class. I'm trying to get that lady this presentation. next meeting.
Right, so that our county legislator is here, or he was, very patiently. I don't, did you pick up on that? The town is still waiting
For Doug, this,
for Doug Double Street to get the contract.
I already texted them when I read it.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
any new business, the local law wellhead overlay protection, scheduled local law hearing. Anybody have any questions for Steve or anybody?
So now might be the time to discuss the document, is
Yeah.
that correct? Okay.
Couple things, Steve, I don't know if you can expand on this or the zoning committee, concern I would have is regulating the amount of water that anybody can take out of it. But I don't see where there's any limit, or there would be any limits on the village and how much water they can take in the future.
This doesn't limit the amount of water by the village or a private individual. We basically, where you see numbers on amount of water withdrawn, it is simply a threshold for whether it requires a special permit or not. Yeah, right, special permit, or let me just clarify that. Special use permit, right, if for those uses that require a special use permit, if they are a large water or wastewater producer, then they would have to connect to a public water and sewer system. So it doesn't restrict the amount of water that they produce or their use at all. And it certainly wouldn't affect the village at all. The village is permitted through New York State DEC. That has no effect.
One of the, I thought this was regulating contamination and depletion of the.
Right.
So what's the, I mean,
So in other words, if instead of drilling a well that's gonna pump, a private landowner for commercial use or whatever, it's more than, we agreed upon 1,000 gallons per day. I can get into why 1,000 gallons per day. But if it's gonna be a larger use, then rather than drill a well and possibly, like you said, deplete the aquifer, then they would connect to, I guess would be the village's water system. It would be public water. You wouldn't have so many straws in the same aquifer. So you wouldn't be interfering with the water supply that's there. So that's why, that's how we're getting at the depletion issue. Right, Joan? And again, I'm trying to, I don't know if I'm explaining it right or not. That was our thinking. I think that was the thinking of the zoning commission. Was that for larger water users, that would be a way to allow them to come into the area, but they would have to, it would have to be an extension of the, I guess would be the village's infrastructure to serve it. And again, this is right on the edge of water. It's already, the infrastructure is already there.
What determines the amount that, because you're telling, I mean, I've heard all these different arguments that, there's arguments against the town of Sterling putting another well over there because that was gonna be too many straws in the aquifer. Now you're saying that if the neighbor that's in this overlay district wants to use 1,500 gallons a day.
It's only for certain,
He
certain
can,
uses.
he can't use it unless he buys it from the village, but it's gonna come out of the same aquifer. So I don't, you know, what's the limit on, you know, how much, you know, when's it gonna start? We're protecting the village, but when's it gonna affect, how much the village takes out, it's gonna affect private wells in the area.
I don't understand.
We're-
There's logic, but it's okay.
No, my logic is,
But
my
let me,
logic
let me
is why
explain.
if I
Let me
wanna use
explain.
1,000 gallons of water a day, and I'm across the street,
Okay,
I can't drill a well and use it because it's gonna affect the aquifer, but I can buy it from the village of Fairhaven that's taking it out of the same aquifer.
we're
Or
trying to
whatever
protect,
municipality.
we're trying to protect the village of Fairhaven's water supply, right? That's the purpose of this overlay district.
Yeah, but how much, where is it determined how much the village of Fairhaven can pump before they're gonna deplete their own water supply?
That's
It's
already
not- I
been
mean, it's
determined by the
not-
New York State Department of Environmental Conservation.
What's
They already
their,
have a permit. They already have a permit.
how much are they permitted to pump a day?
One is 500,000 and the other is 250,000, I think, something like that. I'm not sure the exact, 350, 500. I don't, I mean, it's in my report, I did the other report.
I thought that was by the minute or something.
It is, I think your numbers are correct, I don't know if it's how much, but it's 5 something, and the other one was less.
500 and
The older one
250
was-
gallons per minute, which if, that's the total.
And that's how much they can pump, or they're only allowed to pump half?
No, that's
What
how
the
much
pump-
they can withdraw. And so they have capacity based on that number, because they don't pump anything near those. But Scott, let me explain what this is. I don't, if this table.
Yep.
That 1,000 gallons only pertains to certain uses. So, it's not everything, it means certainly not everything that's, allowed. So if it's a, you know, somebody has a, it's only those that, have the, it's SP asterisk there, so it's where they have to have a special use permit. And they're gonna produce, withdraw, 1,000 gallons per day. So it's not every use, within the overlay district. It's only, for certain uses that already require a special use permit. If someone's putting in a home, they certainly don't have to, you know,
Right.
do a special use permit, or if someone's putting in a, you know, it's only for those uses that are already require a special use permit and are larger water users. That was the zoning commission's thought, was that it would make sense then, rather than allow large private water users, then it would be to have the infrastructure to support those uses.
My argument from the beginning was the DEC would regulate how much water, if there was to be a water bottling plant across the road. And I was told the DEC isn't reliable or care enough or whatever to do that. So now I'm being told that they wouldn't be fair enough to let the gentleman across the road use his property as deemed need be. You know, New York State DEC controls how much water somebody can take from their property. They're the governing body that would do that. Then why now are we saying that, you know, the DEC allows the village to pump, I'm hearing 850 gallons a minute is what they're permitted to pump? Or, you know, supplying the village, or if they sell water in the town of Wolcott or the town of Sterling or Wayne County or wherever all this water is going, what's the limit on, you know, if we're gonna do this, you know, when's too much that they can pump? Or, you know, where's that in there to prevent that from happening 10 years from now when, you know, there's all these other water districts and all this stuff. I'd like to see something in there that put a limit on, you know, what everybody can pump. 'Cause it's, you know, I keep hearing it's a minimal supply, it's a shallow well, it's this, it's that. Well, if that's the case, and I'm starting to believe that. I was one of the people that thought there was an underground river, because that's what I've been told since I was a kid. You know, now I agree that there's not, you've convinced me of that, but now, you know, I'm being told that, well, there's all the water there that Fairhaven ever needs to pump, but there's not enough for anybody else to pump. I just don't understand.
Well, this is for an overlay district, right?
Right.
So this is just for the area of where the aquifer is. So
Right.
this is just to protect the area of the aquifer. This is not to limit the water usage of it. This is to protect, this is the area.
It's, we're too tasked for contamination and depletion. I keep hearing
Yes.
contamination and depletion.
Correct. And if you read through this, in my opinion, we've really focused a lot on contamination by what we've limited
Right,
under
right.
commercial and industrial uses. But we've also addressed the depletion, but contamination is extremely important as well.
So Scott, if you let me speak, just. for a
Yeah,
minute.
sure.
You asked me a question. The DEC regulates withdrawals, places that have the capacity to withdraw 100,000 gallons per day or more. So the village meets that criteria. Bottling plant may meet that criteria, it may not meet that criteria, I don't know. And nor does anybody in this room know whether that, if there were a proposal there, whether that would meet that threshold or not. The thinking, I think, was that of the zoning commission was that one way to address the depletion would be to put the 1,000 gallon per day threshold in there. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, members of the zoning commission who are here, but I'm not a member of the zoning commission. I just followed their guidance and wrote down and codified it in this proposal. But I think that was the thinking behind putting, not prohibiting those uses, but simply saying, we need to be mindful that, you know, since there's already, it would make sense to be able to connect those systems to the infrastructure that is so close, rather than, right? I mean, that's the thinking that I understand.
Right. And I also thought if it's generating 1,000 or more gallons, more than 1,000 gallons, using that water, where's the wastewater going?
Right.
So that creates an issue too. So it goes hand in
Right,
hand.
and anything over 1,000 gallons per day is gonna require a state DEC permit for a wastewater discharge. So,
But I think one of our biggest concerns of all the water consumption was the recharge area of the overlay project was to make sure we're not contaminating the recharge water coming into that aquifer. Because it makes sense if you draw that bowl down, that water's got to come back in and refill it somewhere. I think that was, at least that was our whole project, was to make sure as a recharge area, we were protecting it by protecting the wellhead. That was part of the protection.
so yeah, not to belabor this anymore, but the 1,000 gallons per day is both a quality and quantity protection. It's what goes in, goes out. So that's, we're trying to make sure that, and we're only talking about 500 acres of the town. or even 2% of the town. Just that critical area that supplies, the village water supply. And that would, it would, again, protect both the quality and the quantity, that particular thing we're talking about.
Absolutely. Thank you, Steve.
So the delineated area does include the recharge area, that
Yes.
500
That
acres.
is
I
the-
don't know
Yes.
There's a lot of places in that area that doesn't have access to public water. And there's a strip, whatever's down 101st, A is the only area. My thought is if we're gonna protect from depletion of the water, we should do something to protect the depletion of the water, not, well, the way to not deplete it is to buy it from somebody else out of the same area we're trying to protect. And maybe I'm crazy for thinking this way, but I don't, if you've got a bucket with 100 gallons in it, and everybody takes 5 gallons out, it's gonna deplete. But it's not gonna deplete any less if Lee takes all the water out and I buy it 5 gallons at a time from him. That's where I'm coming from.
The
And I think
difference,
there should be limits on.
difference is the town of Sterling has no authority. The DEC is the authority on the buckets, right?
Right,
And this isn't saying you can't have this use. It is just, it's just a way to ensure that if you say it's just driving all the water to the village to supply, but that is the regulated supply in this area. That has been approved for X amount of water to be produced.
yeah, but what's to
That's
stop
the
somebody
safe
else?
amount.
What's to stop somebody else from getting approval from the DEC on their property? To do the same thing. I mean, the DEC wouldn't do that if it wasn't.
Okay,
And don't tell me that they can, because, you're telling me they can't, because you're saying that they can with village. but they
we're just
can't with
going
somebody
around.
else.
and
Yeah,
around.
okay.
I
I
don't
wanted
understand
answers
a
to
lot of
that
things.
question, and I don't.
That's all.
I have a
There was
question
some-
about the bulk water extraction and stuff,
Mhm.
landowner. If he goes to the zoning board and, applies for a permit for water extraction, and he doesn't get it, how is this document gonna protect the town from being sued? And how is it protected?
I'm not an attorney, your town attorney reviewed this. Was that a comment from the town attorney? I don't believe it was. Lee, I don't know.
Right, well, that's one of my concerns is, the person across the road suing the town.
Wasn't there a special use permit already in that land use regulation for bulk water extraction?
I don't know,
Yes,
Water-
number 51.
52.
That's the proposed draft.
The old
If
one.
you look at the current LUR, I believe it's number 51.
This is the current one right here.
At a
So
recent
it's already
planning,
Yeah.
It's already in place.
Yeah.
Okay.
at a recent planning board meeting, there was an attorney in the audience. And when the point was made about, well, what if we put this local law in effect? Then could we be sued? And the attorney said, the question isn't, can the town be sued? The question should be, does your law have the legal wording and content to protect us? Now, I'm paraphrasing because I'm not an attorney. But what I heard, and it sounds like that attorney who was present at the last planning board meeting thought that this local law would hold up. But,
But there's a bulletproof.
well, how can you guarantee
Depends on
anything?
who's lawyers have more.
You got it. So, but it apparently our attorney, Kevin Cox, he gave his recommendations, which the zoning commission, Steve Winkley, graciously embedded into the document. So that was the suggestion for our attorney to add those 3 items, which we did do. The planning board made one minor change, which was made. And I'm thinking of what other scrutiny we've had for this local law, but those are the 2 entities that I would say would have some merit in terms of giving us feedback. Now it's up to the town board to ask questions for Mr. Winkley, because he's the one that has been doing this process, I believe, for 26 or 27 years, helping municipalities, communities, put documentation, regulations, laws in place to protect the water. And I'm going to do I'm reading the book, Superman's Not Coming by Aaron Brockovich. And if you get a chance to read it, its copyright is 2020. And it makes me say, wow, we're being proactive, because there are multiple communities throughout the United States are dealing with contaminated drinking water and now paying lots of money and trying to figure out how to clean it up. I say, holy mackerel, our little town of 3,000 people, we're actually being proactive. It's not contaminated, it's not depleted, and we can put some laws in place to protect that. And I can't count, you know why it's Superman's not coming? Because big government is not going to be there to help us. It's a grassroots effort, folks. So I just feel very strongly about it.
You go, Joan. I agree.
And it does say bulk water extraction is not permitted in the current draft.
I just want to emphasize that this is gonna sound weak, and I apologize. But this was a grassroots effort, and I was just the messenger. Please don't think that, New York for Water or I impose anything. This came from Sterling. Okay?
Correct.
This isn't me imposing. I gave lots of examples of what we've done. And I say we, the towns that I've worked with all across the state and the zoning commission, to their credit, and working with me, but it was just their product, and I just help facilitate it. So if this was easy, it would have been done 32 years ago.
Right,
So
Stearns and Wheeler
Right.
did the initial
right,
report.
so I understand, it hasn't been an easy process, but it's the importance of it. Why so many people are here tonight, and I think it's why, like I gave in my other talks, this is a resource, a regional resource. Whether you folks hook up to it for your district too or not, it's a supply that's been there for a long time, and the idea is that I think you guys want it to continue to be there for the benefit of your community for the future. So just don't get in the mindset that it won't happen here, because every community has said that, who's had a problem has said that, and something's happened. So you disagree with maybe some of the wording, and I mean, we can talk about it some more if you're curious to get something in writing, written comments. I'll be glad to do that. Not always the best at answering something, spur of the moment, but Scott or Lee, if you'd like me to respond to comments. I think the important thing is this is just my opinion. I got a question from a gentleman who owns a parcel within the area. He had a question about the law. I explained it to him. He's a farmer. His son is a farmer that both own parcels within the area. I explained the proposed regulations to him, that agriculture is exempt. He said, but that's why it's important to have a public hearing. It's important for folks to see the law and to come back in a month and I'll be back and maybe a little more prepared. But I think it's important to advance this so that the public can have their comments known, and the board can hear them and then vote. And then another process is, this is gonna go, if it's advanced, it'll go to the county as well, right?
Correct. So what I would like to see happen tonight is the board passes a resolution to forward this law to the Cuba County Planning 239 Committee for their review. So that'll be another mechanism to get input on this document. And depending on their input, if it says like, oh, it looks pretty good, or a couple of minor changes, then schedule a public hearing on it, and then we've got the public that can ask questions about it. And again, I think I heard Steve Winkley say he could be available.
Well, I'm planning.
Pardon?
I'm planning.
You're planning on it.
Weather permitting.
And then the town board can act on it.
Can I make that motion now?
Works for
Let's
me.
do it in the.
I
Okay,
just want to make one more comment and I'll be quiet, but. And I'm not at all beating up on the village. I'm looking at 20 years down the road. If our neighboring communities have problems with their water and they come to the village wants to sell water. If what you're saying is true, Steve, just with one well at 500 gallons a minute. No, I just picked the one well at 500 gallons a minute.
Well, one.
That's 720,000 gallons of water a day that the village of Fairhaven would be permitted to pump out of that one well, one single well, out of that aquifer with no regulation, nothing to stop them. But
It's 500 for one well.
500 gallons a minute for one well. I'm just saying one well. I know there's two wells there, so you could take this figure and increase it.
To limit it to half the capacity.
I was just told no. That's what I thought, and I was told no.
The pumping amount is half of the total capacity. They have to have a 50% reserve at all times. EDC regulates that.
I was just, is that true, Steve?
Lisa, do you have that, my report in your eyes?
I'm just saying that's,
The one that is referenced in the law. Is it the permits referenced in there?
50%.
So the capacity of the well can be up to 500, but they can only pump capacity.
Well, let me explain. The DEC
So if
grants a permit for the safe withdrawal. And one well was granted in 1967 and well two was in 1986. Well one was for, why you're holding me to these tonight. It's either 500,000 or 500 gallons per minute, and one was either 250 gallons per minute or 250,000 gallons. Per minute. So whichever it is, they have the right, the state is deemed that that is their safe, their safe capacity is X amount, whatever it is. Sorry, I don't have those numbers on the top of my head. Just don't have them. I can certainly get that too. What's
my thought is, I would think that should be reevaluated or something should be done. Things have changed since 19, when those were done. To see, if this is a finite water supply,
If
why are we
If-
looking at giving?
If there's a new well, we'll call it well 3. There will be a pumping test on well 3. The DEC will evaluate what the capacity of well 3 is. Well 3 is a few 100 feet, 150 feet from well 1, and 250, 300 feet from well 2. So it stands to reason that as part of that analysis, they would say, is it safe to withdraw Y amount of water or Z amount of water from well 3? Is well 2 still able to produce that, well 1? So that would probably trigger in a reevaluation. I'm not with the DEC, so I don't know, but I have seen that happen where they will revisit a withdrawal permit, given new asking. In other words, they have a certain amount, they call it a taking. If you're now asking for more, then they could come back and say, we feel now that the total taking should be this amount. So, but if they're not gonna just change a permit at this point, unless there's unless the village were to go to them and say, we wanna withdraw more than our permit is for, or in this case, if we're putting in a new well in that well field. So those are the two conditions where a DEC permit would be looked at.
Any other questions? Anything, Joe?
No, other than obviously we spent many, many hours putting this together and trying to take
And
into
this is the
account.
first time the board's had a chance to look at it or ask questions.
Okay, this document was given to you, I think it was November 5th. You had, you were given an electronic version, and right along I said, okay, that be prepared, Steve Winkley can be available for questions. So what my message was, read the document, be prepared to ask questions.
That's what I did.
Okay, good, and thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I'm glad you had comments. I always prefer written comments, so I know what I'm getting into, but that's
Right.
I should
okay.
have said written comments.
Right, guess I should, yeah, next time.
But again, it's not too late, and you can ask questions again in December.
Right, at the public
And
hearing.
you can ask, submit written comments anytime.
You say something, Charlie?
Oh, I just lost it.
That time, it's falling asleep. All right, dates for the year-end meeting, December 29th and January 3rd. Got advertised for the bar. Charge for West Bay Road storm sewer, so now that we own that property, we get bang the. License annual fee for that. Potential, anything else on new business? Potential resolutions.
You sign all the vouchers.
Yeah.
The microphone's facing both. That,
They all got signed?
Mhm.
I didn't know if they were, but we had to stop.
Yeah, we're all done, right? All the vouchers came down, right? I get a motion for resolution to pay the audited vouchers.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Yours?
Yeah.
Lee?
Yeah.
Joe? Yes.
Yes. We're gonna skip number two. Yeah, skip number 2. I get a motion that this board acknowledges the license and annual fee for the data collection program, SDG Outpost, which will be deducted from the fourth quarter sales tax remittance.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Yeah, still lost Charlie.
Karen?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Joan? Yes, Scott.
Yes.
He hasn't attempted,
Yes, you got it, signed that.
he hasn't attempted to get back in. I'm sure he does.
I get a motion to accept the change in EDU charge for a split property on West Bay Road Storm Sewer Project.
I'll make that resolution.
I'll second it.
Karen,
Yes.
Lee?
Yeah.
Joan?
Yes, Scott.
Yes. Whereas on August 10th, 2020, following a duly advertised public hearing, the town board pursuant to Article 12-A of the town law of the state of New York passed resolution number 2020-106 establishing West Bay Road Storm Sewer District, subject to a permissive referendum, and whereas resolution 2020-106 estimated annual cost to be typical property, typical home or equivalent dwelling unit would be $55, and said annual cost would be assessed solely against properties in the proposed storm sewer service area on a benefit basis according to established EDU criteria, and whereas resolution 20-106 attached and incorporated Schedule A, which establishes the boundaries of West Bay Storm Sewer District and a list of parcels contained within the district and be fitted thereby, and whereas resolution 2020-106 became effective the following the passage of the permissive referendum period, and whereas this property located within the West Bay Storm Sewer District will split between Julia Hill and the town of Sterling, and whereas the town board desires to adjust the EDU charges for these properties, and whereas in regular board meeting on November 23rd, 2020, the town board of the town of Sterling passed resolution 20-161, accepting the following revised EDU charges as being fair and equitable for the list of properties located within it and benefited by the West Bay Road Storm Sewer District. The tax map number charges. Now therefore be it resolved pursuant to Article 12A of the town law, the state of New York, the town board hereby amends and adopts the EDU charges for the foregoing properties as set forth herein for the West Bay Road Storm Sewer District, which shall supersede and replace the previous EDU amounts charged to these properties.
Charlie, you agree to that too?
Let me read it again for you.
I just got logged back on. Sorry, my battery went dead. Meeting went a lot longer than I thought.
We'll
it would.
wait till the next one.
No, you don't have to read it again, Scott. I know it was painful.
Good.
We'll wait for the next one.
Pursuant to town law, section 123, the records of the town clerk tax collector for June through December 2021 and January to June 2022 have been duly examined and found all fees have been turned over to the proper officials.
Nice.
Need a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Karen,
Yes.
Lee?
Yeah.
Charlie?
Yes.
Joan?
Yes, Scott.
Yes. I get a motion to close the public hearing on local law number 5, local code enforcement program.
I'll make that resolution.
I'll second it.
Karen,
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Joan?
Yes, Scott.
Yes. Motion to close the public hearing on local law number 6, flood damage prevention.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Karen,
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Yes, Scott.
Yes. You have to send that to the 239 first.
Usually we can do that first and then at the December meeting? It's
The next 239 committee is Thursday, December 15th. And I know the last time they got the recommendation the next day, Friday.
correct.
So I'm optimistic that'll happen, so time-wise, we could have it, public hearing on the 19th.
Do we have to have a motion to send it to the 239?
No, it's something.
We just do it? Okay, perfect. The motion to schedule a wellhead protection overlay district public hearing, local law on December 19th, 2022 at 7:05, and authorize the town clerk to advertise for such meeting.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. Good job.
Karen,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Charlie,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Hey, just to, while we're on it, who's going to send this version 11 draft to
The town
the
clerk's office.
the town clerk? I'm just confirming that the town clerk will be sending that to the 239 committee for their review.
Town clerk's office.
Oh, town clerk's office.
I get motion for resolution to schedule a year-end meeting for December 29th, 2022 at 7 PM, and authorize the town clerk to advertise for such meeting.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Karen,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Charlie,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Scott.
Yes. The motion to schedule an organizational meeting for January 3rd, 2023 at 7 PM, and authorize the town clerk to advertise for such meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Karen,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Charlie,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Scott.
Yes. I get a motion to appoint Chris Parsons to the bar.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Karen,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Charlie.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes. I get a motion to accept the resignation of Robin Sober to the bar.
I'll make that motion.
I'll-
Yeah, for you to say that.
Karen,
Yes.
Lee,
Yeah.
Charlie,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Scott.
Yes. Get a motion to authorize the town clerk to advertise for bar member.
I'll make
I'll
that
make that
motion.
motion.
I'll second it. Charlie?
Charlie, you second that?
Made the motion. Yes.
Okay. Karen,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Charlie,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
You know, if it's been signed,
Yes.
it has. So then you gotta go with. Okay.
Hey, can I get a motion for this board to authorize the supervisor and highway superintendent to sign amendment number 1 of county plow snow contract for 2022-23, and ratify the error of the supervisor and highway superintendent to sign the amendment 1 of the county snow plow contract for 2022-2023 prior to board approval.
I'll make that one.
I'll second.
Karen,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Charlie,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Scott.
Yes. And I get a motion to accept local law number 5, code enforcement program. You make me read it out. Yeah.
The other one is like 20 pages, or 50 pages.
Does anybody need the law read to them to clarify it? Okay.
I can email it if you want it.
If anybody wants it. Yeah.
Who would be reading it?
Me.
No.
Would you like somebody else to read it? Would you like to read it?
Word. I'll make that one.
I'll second it.
Yeah, and what I would like to just make sure I understand that these 2 laws that we're gonna discuss, our attorney had already reviewed and passed down and said, these need to be put in
Yeah,
place.
he's actually,
Right,
fill in the blanks, yeah.
Right, right, so that is not something that we created, it's something that basically we're mandated to do.
Karen?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Helen?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes. Get a motion for resolution to accept local law number 6, flood damage prevention.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Karen?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Helen?
Yes, Scott.
Yes. Anybody like privilege of the floor? Yes, sir.
Howard Barnell, Old State Road. I'm curious about a small matter. I brought it up at the, one of the summer meetings, it might have been 2 summers ago now. The pilot agreement with the Renaissance Festival, has that been fulfilled, or has there been some alternative made to extract some taxes from the organization?
I'm not aware of the pilot program with the Renaissance Festival.
Anybody?
They lost it.
They lost it?
Apparently wasn't fulfilled. Seems like, kind of being played for fools, making an agreement like that, and then the person doesn't hold up their end of the bargain. I don't know what the status is. I thought maybe somebody had a clue.
They have to pay their taxes now.
So in lieu of the payment, they now have to pay taxes.
And it's been assessed, et cetera.
Is it what?
Been assessed.
It's been assessed, et cetera.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You can talk to Becky.
Sorry. My ignorance. Thank you.
Jim Basile?
And Mayor Basile from Village of Fairhaven, just on the capacity things with the wells, and I'm glad to get the actual figures for you, Scott. We can talk about that, and we can share whatever. I don't have it in front of me, but MRB, when we decided we want to contract with WOCA for their new water district, did an evaluation just to answer your specific question, and we're less than 50%. That was the number that they were looking for, what the capacity of the well field was approved for by the DEC. And right now we run anywhere between, and we only run one pump at a time. We have the capacity to use 750,000 gallons a day. I think 750 gallons a minute, some enormous number. But we run about 16% in the winter and about 34%, 35% in the summer. A lot of that's attributed to, we're actually pumping less water now than we were 20, 25 years ago. A lot of that's attributed to toilet fixtures. I know it sounds silly, but it's not. Toilet fixtures, all the plumbing fixtures in the homes, recycled water that some homes do, where they take gray water and use it for flushing toilets. Also, since I've been there, we know we have an old system. Our next step now is to work on getting that infrastructure replaced a piece at a time if we have to. But the charge has been for the village to, we know about it, which is half of the problem. We're out there fixing. We've had some of our lowest volume to water pump this past year. So we fixed several leaks that were fairly good size, and multitude of leaks that were small. But there's no leak too small or big for us. But to answer your question, we can talk about.
Yeah, and you understand my concern.
I understand your question.
If we're worried about depletion, what's the limit? I want a number like.
Right. It doesn't, obviously for the village, and you're right, I may not be here, you guys might not be here 20 years down the road, is to make sure that the people following us have the same interests that we had in protecting the well field and not depleting the water.
I heard of a neighboring municipality that, mentioned selling 1 million gallons of water a day. So as, you know, or help rescue their village or whatever, so I'm just concerned that, like you said, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, that's not used and everything we've done here is for naught.
Right, and we have that same, not completing the walk, they're two different issues, I guess I wanted to make that point. One is protection of the well field, and the second is the body. And the board, some of the members here with me tonight, we're all concerned about making sure that we don't pass that threshold, that 50% threshold. And right now, you know, we're on 34% is a high for that. And if Wolcott comes online, that might bump up to 38%, 39%, 40% in that range. So we're still well below, and that's where we plan to stay. You know, whatever Sterling decides, we'll be within that limit. That's in our calculations, so we're not planning on selling to anybody else. If we decide to go another route, we're good with that too. I mean, we were here to work with you guys on fulfilling that second district that we wanted. That's all.
Thank you. Anybody else?
So I have right here, the village's water supply application, and I'll read this to you. A lot of mumbo jumbo here, but basically they can take a supply of water not to exceed 750 gallons per minute, parentheses GPM, combined between wells number 1 and 2. Well number 1 has an estimated safe yield of 500 gallons per minute. Well number 2 has an estimated safe yield of 250 gallons. They take a supply not to exceed a total of 750 gallons per minute. So this 50% is that come from the state, or is that just your?
Just what we were working with when we worked on selling water to Wolcott. We didn't want to exceed 50% of our capacity.
Of the yield of the
yield.
So there's no 50% on that. That's right.
That's right. I didn't know where that came from.
Right, thank you.
Susan? Can somebody clarify, I thought that the Department of Health had some kind of a reserve capacity requirement. Can somebody enlighten us on that? Because I thought it was that you had to have a reserve capacity equal to your largest well, wasn't it?
There's something at the state level.
At the Department of Health level.
And I'm not sure
DEC.
whether that safe yield is calculated as
It's
a reduction from the
I
total
think it's pumping
capacity.
capacity maybe.
Pumping
I'm not
capacity is
sure.
I thought
calculated the reserve from the total
Karen.
capacity.
She's got to talk.
She asked
Keep
if
going.
anybody could clarify.
Right,
And
well-
I'm agreeing with her that there's
No.
something in the state law. that
I had heard that
says-
as well. I don't
Yeah,
know if
what
it's
is
fact or
that?
fiction or whatever it is. but-
It's a reserve. I think the theory is, if your pump goes down on your main well, that you can kick on another pump equal to your largest, supply or something. I don't have, I can email it. I got it from Elaine O'Connor down in Auburn. And it is a Department of Health, reserve capacity. And it's basically supplying, I don't really think they're talking about aquifer capacity, they're just talking about filling up the standpipes and distribution systems. But,
You have to have capacity with your largest well on service.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. You've got to have reserve equal to your largest well and your largest pump.
That would be more as
And I
far as
think
water
it's,
tower storage and stuff like that after the fact. Okay.
And it may have something to do with peak versus average. It gets very confusing. I mean, the numbers that Jim is giving us are maybe average numbers, long term, I'm not sure. But then there's peak numbers where you might exceed that capacity, and so, yeah, I don't know, I gotta go look at I can't remember how they work. So, but there are some regs on that.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Yes, Paul Garland, Church Street, Fairhaven.
I'd just like to be sure that I leave with a good sense in my head, what's gonna happen next on 29th of December. There's gonna be another meeting.
There'll be a public, there'll be a public hearing.
Yeah.
Where the
19th.
For the 29th.
19.
Oh, 19th.
Oh, the 19th?
Yeah.
Okay. And the vote, there won't be a vote that evening, right? Or what? By the board.
Potentially, there could be.
Possibly there.
We could be in a position to act on it.
Okay, December 19th. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Aye. Good seeing you.
Guys, thank you.
Amazon, good luck.